With training camp underway, ADPs are going to shift in fantasy football drafts that might impact whether a guy is drafted in the second or third round here in the coming weeks. Now, there are multiple players that are really good values at their ADP at this point, but there are also some guys that we need to be avoiding at their current ADPs. This video is going to tackle 5 players that I am not touching, whether it is my rent that's I'm putting on the line, whatever it is. I ain't touching these guys with a 10-foot pole. Let's get right into this video on Blitz Sports Media. All right, so heading into this video here, we'll get to our first guy, and it is a Baltimore Raven here in Zay Flowers. Now, Zay Flowers, with the current ADP of wide receiver 25, has really never exceeded that in his career. Now, a lot of people are like, whoa, I think Zay Flowers is a consistent wide receiver too, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but in the last 2 years, he has been wide receiver 23 or 32, sorry, in 2023, and then he's been wide receiver 31 in 2024, only leaping up one spot. And the interesting part about Zay Flowers is he's the clear dominant wide receiver on the Baltimore Ravens. There is passing volume. Lamar Jackson threw 41, yes, touchdown passes last season, but Zay Flowers only contributed to 9.8%, finishing with 4. Now, this receiver room did add DeAndre Hopkins, but besides that, it looks like a pretty similar group heading into the 2025 season. With Zay Flowers, though, we all know that the Ravens will work through that ground game with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield. The Ravens rank third in rushing rate and ninth in neutral rushing rate, which is not going to shift because you have two of the most talented players that are going to be future Hall of Famers in that backfield. Zay Flowers had 12.3 points per game last year, a 24.1% target share, and then a 26% target per route run. Like, the numbers are there that suggest, like, hey, maybe Zay Flowers could be a little bit more consistent with the target share numbers, target per route run, but a limited passing volume, and despite having a higher target share, doesn't necessarily guarantee wide receiver one type production from Zay Flowers. Now, he's currently priced as a wide receiver two, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be worth it. He is a week to week player that you cannot trust. One week he'll go for 4 points, another week he'll go for 34 points. And it's that volatility at that point, which kind of holds him to that low end wide receiver two tier, which he's never been able to achieve in his career. Now, there's our players that could potentially emerge in Baltimore that we haven't talked about. You have Tez Walker and Isaiah Likely, who could play more this year, and I think Likely for sure in a contract year could see the highest receiving totals that we've seen from him in his time in Baltimore. A lot of people love Zay Flowers, but I feel like at this point, his current ADP, I'm avoiding him. I just know what I'm going to get out of him. There's not a lot of upside with picking Zay Flowers, and I think there's other higher upside guys that can finish in an upper class of a wide receiver two, right where he's being drafted, instead of feeling like I'm stuck with a low end wide receiver two where I'm currently drafting him at. And that just does not entice me at all at his current ADP. The next player is Marvin Harrison Jr. I am beating this one on the drum that Marvin Harrison Jr. at his wide receiver 17 price is quite excessive. Marvin Harrison Jr. finished as the wide receiver 42 last year. He finished with 62 catches for 885 yards and 8 touchdowns, but we get no discount based on that stat line. Obviously, last year, we all know, second round pick, Marvin Harrison Jr. did not produce for us at all in fantasy football, and it was not okay. And this year, a lot of stuff is very similar for Marvin Harrison Jr. in Arizona. Kyler Murray returns under center. Drew Petzing returns as the offense coordinator. And that combination right there alone has me worried a little bit about Marvin Harrison Jr. potentially leaping into a wide receiver one tier when he's already priced as a higher wide receiver two. Season 21% target share, not horrible, but it was wide receiver 34. His passer rating when targeted was 88.5. He also had a 54.5% catch rate with Kyler Murray, which is unbelievable to think about. And it's not like Marvin Harrison Jr. was dropping balls at a crazy rate. It was that Kyler Murray was so inaccurate when targeting him, not great at all. I think that number does go up. I mean, that's just an unsustainable rate. But how much is the question as to his value? The biggest thing for him, though, is what Drew Petzing did with him within this offense. He had a 14.1 ADOT, and he was only targeted on 10.2% of deep plays. He as a player with an 84.2% post success, right? But his underneath potential was basically underutilized in Drew Petzing's offense, and he had zero design plays last year, which is crazy to think about from a player that was drafted as high as Marvin Harrison in the draft, that their offensive coordinator did not scheme any open targets up for him in an entire season. The whole combination of Murray and Petzing are really concerning for me. And plus, this team isn't built to throw the ball with Marvin Harrison's current usage in this offense. It is Marvin Harrison's a deep decoy. Murray likes to check the ball down and run, and the offensive line is high in pressure rate. That doesn't necessarily bode well for down the field success from a player that is running a ton of deep routes. Now, what does this mean? I don't think it means that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to completely fall on his face this year. He's a really talented player, and I think a lot of stuff is working for him in terms of like development. I think the strength thing is underrated that will help him this year. But within the scheme itself, not enough has changed for a wide receiver 17 price and the upside of guys around him. So I think with Marvin Harrison Jr., he's another player that I'm avoiding at his current ADP. Our next player on this list is Brock Bowers, who is currently ranked as the tight end one and the 17th overall. Guys, Brock Bowers is a fade at all costs right now where he's being drafted. The guy behind him is ranked higher than him on my board, and Trey McBride, who had a historically low touchdown rate last season. Brock Bowers absolutely was dominant in his rookie season, 153 targets. He was the tight end one in his rookie season and had a 24.5% target share. Now, you're going to pay a premium for Brock Bowers in the first round because of that season he had last year. The Raiders offense adds Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, a complete coaching overhaul with Pete Carroll stepping in as the head coach. This Raiders team should look better on the offensive side of the ball, but is it better for Bowers based on the guys that they brought in? I don't think so. Geno Smith has never been a player that's targeted tight ends historically high in his career, hovering around a 15% target rate to the position. That doesn't bode well. I know Brock Bowers is their best player, and he will definitely be over that 20% mark, but it is not going to be a 24.5% mark that he saw last year. Now, the upgrades in terms of the quarterback position and the offense in general will help his efficiency. I think he does score more touchdowns, but I don't think the targets and the yards are going to be there potentially this year like they were last year, which makes a first round ticket for Brock Bowers extremely expensive right now. And then you have Trey McBride, who you can get to the middle late second, who feels like a lot safer option. McBride is a clear target in this offense I just talked about, underneath where Kyler Murray loves to check the ball down. And he has an increase in positive touchdown regression coming for him this year. Now, the Raiders will also be playing from ahead more this year. Well, that could affect Brock Bowers' targets. Brock Bowers is a great football player, and he's still my tight end two in my drafts right now, but I can't buy into his late first round, early second round price tag that I think a lot of people are loving Brock Bowers at right now. I think this guy's an automatic fade for me because historically Geno Smith has never been the guy that targets the tight end, and I'm not buying into that when it's this late in Geno Smith's career. The next player here, we have Baker Mayfield here, who is the quarterback 759th overall. I mean, Baker was just a league winner. There's no other way to put that last season. 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, a 7.2% touchdown rate. I mean, absolutely dominant season. He also had 378 rushing yards, which bested his career high. So Baker Mayfield, historic career year, and the talent around him is unbelievable. Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin, returns. You have Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, a talented offensive line who's going to miss Tristan Wirfs to start the season, but talented nonetheless. This group on Tampa Bay's offense is unbelievable. Now, my concerns come from regression, and Baker Mayfield has never thrown over 30 touchdowns in his career, and he did it last season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having that monster 41 touchdown year and a 7.2% touchdown rate is also unsustainable. Now, his passing volume and passing yards, I could see finding a similar total of 4,500, but this team is going to want to run the ball with Bucky Irving, and they know what they have there. Josh Grizzard knows that he needs to lean into that Buccaneers offensive line and a defense that's not super talented that they need to avoid being on the field for long periods of time, and throwing the ball a lot is not going to be able to do that. I think that the Buccaneers team wants to get back to an identity of running the football, which they haven't had, it feels like, in quite some time. But having a combination of Bucky Irving, Rashad White in that backfield makes things exciting. Baker Mayfield has a ton of talent around him, but regression is coming. Are you willing to pay a price of a QB7 versus when he was going undrafted last year? I think it should be more priced around the quarterback 11, quarterback 12 in drafts right now, just based on the fact that we know he's going to regress. We know the rushing upside has only been over 300 yards once in his career, and he also needs to rank top 12 in passing efficiency to be a quarterback one. I think he still is a low end quarterback one, but nowhere near the quarterback 7 price that we're having to pay for Baker Mayfield right now. Finally, the last player we have here is James Cook, who is currently going as the RB14. He had a really solid season last year for the Buffalo Bills, averaging 15.7 half PPR points per game, but 43.1% of James Cook's points, guys, relied on touchdowns, which is absurd. He only played 50% of snaps with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson also operating in that Bills backfield. Ty Johnson was also touted the best third down back in the NFL, according to his quarterback, Josh Allen. And James Cook's passing snaps dropped from 43% to 27%. Now, if James Cook is less efficient this year, which I don't think the efficiency is my biggest concern, but it's that touchdown rate. You can't score 43.1% of your points off touchdowns and expect that to be similar heading into the 2025 season. It feels like Raheem Mostert's season with Miami, where he scored a ton of touchdowns and little volume, and he had a significant decrease the next season. His really high price right now suggests that we need to fade him at all costs. Now, there is a little bit of a drop off when you get to the James Cook pick, but I would take guys like Breece Hall over him. And I think that James Cook at this point in his career, even if he's fighting for a contract, isn't a player who is going to play more than that 50% snap share with what the Buffalo Bills want to do. And if he's not scoring touchdowns at a 43% clip, he is not going to live up to an early RB2 price despite playing in a Josh Allen led offense. All right, guys, those are my 5 players I'm currently avoiding at their ADPs. Make sure you guys drop a comment down below which of these players you guys agree with or disagree with. Hit that subscribe button for more Blitz fantasy football content, and I'll catch you guys next time.